Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very exciting program done in collaboration between the University of Waterloo and DECA. And so today we are doing a little bit of exciting technology stuff. We're learning how we're going to use AI. So maybe drop it in the chat or if you can, yeah, so drop it in the chat or actually, sorry, this mode is a little difficult for me to use. I'm just going to do that. In the chat, let me know who here has experience with AI, who uses ChatGPT. It's okay. This is a safe place. Your teachers aren't here. You can tell me honestly whether you use ChatGPT or not. And so you can either raise your hand, come off the mic, or feel free to drop it in the chat or thumbs up. Nice. Jim it's using some AI. Who else is using AI? Maybe in school for help and stuff. Okay. Couple thumbs. Okay, so um awesome. So it looks like, you know what? It looks like everyone. So that's really good to see that everyone is getting experience with these new and exciting technologies. So my name is Haaris Mian, and I am an assistant professor of emerging technologies here at the University of Waterloo. And so my goal today is to show you a new way to use AI. So we're all familiar with using chat. Um, but we're going to learn how we can use AI to actually make our own apps that'll help us solve business problems, which will be really helpful during DECA. And if you decide to start your own business, maybe it'll be helpful there as well. Maybe by a show of hands or a show of thumbs, who here has plans to start their own business or they're looking forward to a career in business? Show of hands or the thumbs up. Cool. Okay, good to see. Nice. So that's what I wanted to do in high school as well. When I was a high school student, I wanted to study business. And here I am, uh, helping my fellow business students succeed. So before we get started, before we get into today's material, I want to start with a land acknowledgement. And basically, the University of Waterloo acknowledges that much of our work takes place on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee. I'm terrible pronouncing it, but Hodene, Haudenosaunee peoples. And our main campus is situated on the Haldeman Tract that is land granted to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. And so, what are we actually doing today? We are going to learn how to build an interactive business dashboard. So, if you've never made a dashboard before, our goal is to make a visual and interactive tool that we can use to help us make big business decisions, right? So this tool can be used in a number of different ways. You can use it for your own personal project. So maybe by a show of hands, who here has ever had like an app idea before and they wanted to make an app for themselves? Okay, a couple of us have had app ideas. Nice. And then maybe in the chat, does anyone want to share what their app ideas have been? So I know before I've wanted to make a social network for professors. So that was my app idea. Okay. Amelia has a workout app idea. Cool. I like it. Anyone else have any app ideas? Maya, what were you thinking of?
Am I allowed to unmute?
Yeah, of course. This is,
Um,
by the way, guys, this is open discussion. If you want to unmute, please.
so my family, we own a non-for-profit food organization that provides foods for families who do not have enough like food or cannot provide for their children and stuff like that. So we wanted to create an app, or I guess I gave my mom the idea to create an app where people could sort of register and we can communicate with them and how to get the food to them, stuff like that, and also work with like big grocery stores in order to get their secondhand food and stuff like that. So
Very,
yeah.
very cool. That's an awesome app idea. Sounds super useful for not only your family, but for like literally the population, the public. I love that. Vihan, DECA studying app. Okay, DECA studying, it's tough. I remember studying for DECA. It's tough. So that's a great idea. So, you know what I love about all these apps, all these ideas is after today's session, you folks will know of a new AI tool that will actually help you turn these apps into reality with just natural language. So the same way you talk to chat to get answers on, help me with this, maybe this essay question, help summarize this text. We can actually use that same natural language to get a whole full-blown app. And so that's what we're going to learn how to do. And so we're going to learn about doing that just for DECA. Of course, DECA put this event together for us. So my goal today is to teach you how to use it for your DECA presentations and to really wow the judges. And so I want to just share a little story of how I use this exact tool to succeed at our competition. So the University of Waterloo was in the Manhattan Data Analytics competition. And so it is a worldwide competition that includes schools from all over the globe. And uh, as you can imagine, there's lots of big hitters there. Like you have schools that you've probably heard of, like Harvard and Yale and so on and so forth. And the University of Waterloo is attending as well. And one of the things that we did that no other school knew how to do was created a live interactive dashboard with the exact same tool I'm going to show you today. Um, and you can do this in I know it says under 60 minutes, but that's because our whole time together is 60 minutes. I'm going to teach you a lot of AI stuff today, but the actual app making itself can be done in like 10 minutes. And so we're going to see that in in a couple minutes. So be really excited for that because this what we're learning today can actually really drastically change the outcomes of your DECA competitions. And so that's what we're gonna hopefully build today. And so before I actually um, get into how we're gonna use this app, there is something I do want to talk about, which is um, how are you supposed to use AI, right? As new high school students, um, I don't know how much your teachers are teaching you, like, hey, this is how you use AI responsibly, how you use AI ethically. What are some of the powers and limitations of using AI? And so I just want to briefly, oops, I just want to briefly go over the University of Waterloo's pillar for AI use. So I'm a University of Waterloo professor, and I know that DECA's kids are usually like some of the smartest of the school. And so my hope is that I convince you in today's lecture that, you know what, University of Waterloo is the place that you want to be. And one of the ways I'm hoping to convince you is because of our pillars of AI use. I don't know if you folks know this, but the University of Waterloo is one of the world's leaders when it comes to technology, right? And so one of the ways we've kind of gotten to that great reputation is we always have pillars for how to use new technologies. And so how we are here at the University of Waterloo are thinking about AI is, well, one, we're trying to make sure we give students the AI skills that are necessary for real business impact. Um, I'm sure we've all used chat to like generate funny pictures. You've asked it to like, hey, like take this photo of me and make it an anime, like Studio Ghibli um, art. But here at the University of Waterloo, we want to make sure that you, as future business professionals, as future business executives, know how AI works and you know how to use it to help your the businesses you work for or the businesses that you own or for your own personal business career. So, like lectures like today, like talks like today, our goal is to actually give you the skills that you need to succeed and make a real impact, right? And so we're going to see an example of that today. But across all the different areas of business, marketing, sales, accounting, finance, product development, human resources, um, at the University of Waterloo, we want to make sure that you have skills for all of those things. Next is responsible and technical use. So, question for you folks. Who here has ever gotten in trouble because they use ChatGPT? And I'm hoping it's nobody. Ooh, shoot. Just a couple people. That's okay. And so that's exactly what we here at the university try to make sure doesn't happen. So because AI is new, we don't know how to use it yet. We don't know what are the rules, what are the lines. And so at the University of Waterloo, we want to make sure that you, as a future business professional, know how to use it responsibly, um, and in a way that doesn't get you in trouble, right? So, Mikhail, I'm sorry that happened to you, that you didn't know, hey, this is the responsible and ethical way to use it. And so come to the University of Waterloo and we'll make sure you do. And you know what's fun? At the university, we encourage AI use. Literally in every single one of my classes, I tell students like use ChatGPT on this assignment as much as you can. And that's the cool difference between university and high school. We also try to make sure you know that AI's powers and limits. Who here knows what a hallucination is? So when you're asking AI or ChatGPT something, who here knows what a hallucination is? Nice. Does anyone want to shoot their shot and try to give the explanation? You can say it in the chat, or if you raise your hand, you can unmute your mic. So a hallucination, right? So I'm sure people are just typing out in the chat, takes time. A hallucination is basically when an AI says something wrong, factually incorrect, but with a lot of confidence. And sometimes that can convince us is the right answer. So, if you didn't know what a hallucination was, that's what a hallucination is. And it's a big problem in the AI world. And that's one of the limitations, right? Like any new technology, anything new, any powerful tool has something that's good and it has some limitations. And so here at the University of Waterloo, we make sure that everyone understands that these are the places where you should use AI, and these are the places where you should, practice some critical thinking or maybe not use it as much, for example. We also make sure that students have the opportunity to apply their learning with real projects. So today is a great example of that. We're going to learn how to use a completely new AI tool. We learn interdisciplinary thinking. So as a future business professional, the cool and exciting thing about business is it touches so many different subject areas. For example, marketing is really different than accounting. And so these are two different disciplines. And so we want to make sure that students who come to the University of Waterloo have interdisciplinary thinking. So they can think about how does something that happened in the marketing department affect the accounting department? Similarly, if we use AI in one department, how does it affect the other department? And then finally, future ready thinking. So, as you folks have seen, the world changes really fast and new things come all the time. You have new technologies, like you've seen ChatGPT get invented in front of your eyes. You were born and raised in a world where, like, a lot of you and your friends had maybe iPads or smartphones. Um, and so AI is a really new thing, right? Like when I was roughly your age, that's when the iPhone first came out. And so similarly, at, in high school right now, you're seeing ChatGPT kind of become really popular. And so, as you can imagine, in the next 10 years and 15 years, things are going to change, right? And so our goal here is to make sure that you're ready for the future. And that's why we run sessions like today in collaboration with DECA to make sure that you, as the future business professionals in the world, know how to use the technology of the future. So I'm just going to pause here for a second. Are there any questions so far? Is there anything I can help clarify? Um, uh, Basically, just going over how the University of Waterloo thinks about AI and what we like to make sure our students know, and how do we get them ready for the professional world. Okay, cool. And if there's any questions at any point, please just feel free to raise your hand. I am always happy to take up questions. And so, what are we, why does this matter to DECA, right? Why does this matter to you as DECA students? Well, this is a huge opportunity to stand out in your competition. So I can't stress the kind of advantage just coming to this session you've just given yourself. So I think there's, how many people are in the meeting right now? So there's about 30 people here. I know DECA has hundreds to thousands of competitors. And so this is such a slam dunk way for you to really stand out during the competition. And we'll see that live together, right? Judges love an interactive dashboard. That's what we're going to build today. because it also shows real-time calculations, right? So we're going to make a dashboard to help us make a business decision. And so we'll be able to show off our business acumen that we know how the numbers of a business should work. And professional visualizations, right? Whenever you have something, when you think about it as people, everyone loves to everyone loves visualizations way more than just speaking or audio or lectures. If this lecture was 100 different TikToks and you could just scroll through it, it would be way more fun to go through. But if this lecture was just like a podcast, it would be a little less fun to go through than the TikTok, right? And that's because just as people, as humans, we just love a good visualization. We just love seeing things. And so today we're going to learn how to make an interactive dashboard, which is going to be some visualizations that will really help elevate our DECA presentations. And then we'll learn how to turn that into a QR code so we can get a demo right on the spot. So we're going to do all this today. And if you're able to, right? So this session is being recorded. So if you can't follow along, that's totally okay. But try your best to, right? We're going to use an app called Bolt.new. So if you go and check that out. You will be able to make a free account and get started. Now, one thing I will warn you about is that Bolt.new has limitations for free users. So try not to, and it's based on the number of times you use it. So try not to use it too many times. Otherwise, you might use up all your kind of free tokens that they give you. But feel free to go and make an account and get yourself set up. So we're going to use Bolt.new and we're going to make an interactive dashboard, and then we're going to turn that dashboard into a QR code that anyone can scan and use on their own device. Okay, and so how are we doing this? Well, we're going to do it through a new company called Bean Scene Coffee. So maybe by a show of hands, by a thumbs up, anyone here drink coffee? I'm curious if, okay, we got a couple coffee drinkers. All right. All right, so maybe you don't drink coffee, but maybe you like bubble teas. Can I get a thumbs up if we have some bubble tea fans? Bubble tea, boba fans. Okay, a lot more hands, a lot more thumbs. Yeah, I thought so. I remember when I was in high school, I liked boba way more than coffee. And so for today, we are going to work with a coffee shop, but you can just pretend this is a bubble tea shop. And so we have this coffee shop here, Bean Scene, and they're deciding whether they should expand their business or not, right? So you can pretend I'm the owner of Bean Scene, and I'm just like I'm new to business, right? I'm just really good at coffee. I liked coffee, so I opened a coffee shop, and I don't know anything about business. But I blew up on TikTok, right? My business, Bean Scene, blew up on TikTok, and so I have lines out the door, and I've just become such a daily part of everyone's routine, right? And so lots of reviews, lots of these TikTok videos are saying that I should open up a new location. So I'm really considering it. But the thing is, starting a business expansion is a huge endeavor, right? It's really expensive. And I don't know whether I should go about it. And so this is when we kind of open the floor to a lot of interaction, right? And so if you came here, um, so I hope you came here ready to show off how much you've learned, either throughout DECA or throughout your high school classes. Because my question to you folks is let's brainstorm some of the important things to consider when you are opening a new store, or like what are the important things that Bean Scene should consider before opening their second location. So that's our mission today. Our mission today is to help the owner of Bean Scene, you can say it's me, Professor Haaris, is trying to open up a new location. And should he open, should he do that? And the way I want to know, or how you can help me make this decision, is to make a dashboard that analyzes a few different things, right? Like our financial performance, some of the costs, whether there's a break even, the risk assessment, right? So like what kind of risks would exist, and make a recommendation. And so what I want to do is now turn this into a little bit of a brainstorming session, right? So what I want us to do. So I'm going to click new slide, and I'm just going to brainstorming. I'm going to call this slide brainstorming. And let's talk a little bit about what important financial metrics should I consider. So feel free in the chat or raise your hand to mention, like, hey, like when considering this expansion, what are some of the important financial metrics or numbers that I should consider in this decision? So there's one of the things that I might start with considering are is like rent, right? Rent might be an interesting one that I need to keep in mind, right? Right. Very nice. Insurance, that's a great one. Insurance is a great consideration when opening a new store. Okay, added cost of labor. Yeah, that's a great example, right? Like extra cost of labor and team. Nice. Um, what other kinds of considerations might I need to make? Okay, nice. I got a DM saying inventory, right? So we're gonna need lots more inventory. Okay, awesome. What other things? Equipment, right? Totally. We're gonna need new equipment, right? Like a new coffee machine costs money, a new espresso bar costs money, all of the milk frothers, stuff like that are gonna cost money. Okay, nice. Right, Jimit, very smart. The variable cost, right? Like we're gonna have some. So Jimit has raised a great point. We're gonna have some fixed costs and we're going to have some variable costs to consider. So I love that. So you folks are really smart. So you have fixed costs and you have variable costs, which will be things like coffee, supplies. Okay, awesome. Any other things that we can think of right off the bat that might be useful? So one of the things that I can think of is like marketing, right? Like how do we make sure that people know about our new business? Like we're going to have to spend a little more on marketing, right? That might be something we want to marketing expenditures, right? Cool. Anything else anyone wants to add to this list of metrics that we should consider, financial metrics that we should consider in our dashboard? Okay, cool. Right. I think that's a good list to start with. And the really nice thing about using these types of AI apps is it's not like a one and done. You can iterate on it. So let's go on to the next thing, which is expansion costs and projections, right? Like, so we have some expansion costs here. Like, we're going to have more rent, we're going to have more insurance, we're going to have extra labor, we're going to have more inventory. Okay, awesome. But what about projections? What kinds of positive things, projections, what kinds of projections should we consider? Like, what are things that we are hoping will happen with this new business endeavor? And we should consider before we actually pull the trigger. Okay, like Maya says, increase profit, right? So we probably want to project out our increase in. So instead of profit, I'm going to say revenue, just because we have some cost considerations. So if we project the increase in revenue, we'll also be considering the profit as well. Okay, awesome. Um, what other kinds of things might we want to project, right? Oh, nice. Brand recognition and expenses. Okay, right. So we want to project new expenses. We want to project what kinds of brand recognition. Nice. Right. Cool. I like it. Any other ideas? Okay, cool. So a break-even timeline is, does anyone know what break-even is? Can anyone remind me what break-even is? Nice. So I just got a DM. Break even is essentially, yeah, right. Just like Mikhail also says, the amount needed to exceed expenses. Um, so break even is an amount, right? So that's the amount of revenue we need to exceed our expenses. So basically, what does it take to break even? Like, what does it take us to get zero? Then you have break even timeline. So how long it takes us to break even. So how long it takes us for our revenue to hit our expenses, right? Because for most businesses, to start out, it usually costs a little money, and you don't start making the money right away. And so, for our break-even timeline, like Mikhail says, we need to consider how much revenue we need to break even and what the timeline looks like. Okay, awesome. Now let's think about some risks, right? So these are all good things. We hope our brand will grow, but what kind of risks do we have to think about? What are some risks with this new business endeavor? What could go wrong? Okay, not enough sales. That's a great example, right? So one of the biggest risks, right? Like if I'm worried about um, starting a new business, one of the things, the worst things that could happen to me is not enough sales. So I call it a slow start or not enough sales, right? That would suck if I open a new store. Competition, that's a great example. Competition. How many other stores are nearby, right? Okay. And okay, Vidya says economic downturn, right? So like what if the economy just, it happens. That totally happens. Economic downturn, totally. Um, environmental risk like damage to property, right? Yeah, you know, what if something happens to the building I just bought or the building I just started renting? So definitely environmental risks. Okay, awesome. And like Maya says, changes in demand. What if people just don't like coffee anymore? Right. So that's totally. And like we just saw from our audience here, right? Bubble tea was not very popular when I was in high school. And now, like I just asked you folks, you liked a bubble tea way more than you like coffee. So changes in demand, demand changes all the time. And that's just like for you as future business professionals, keep that in mind, right? Demand changes all the time. And so that's a pretty good risk assessment. And now we need a data-driven recommendation. And this is where our dashboard will actually kick in. This is where our dashboard will do its job. And so here is some great brainstorming that we've done, right? And now what we're going to do with all these notes that we've made, all this brainstorming that we've done, we're going to turn this into a dashboard in literally seconds. It's amazing. And so we're going to do that using Bolt.new, right? And so Bolt.new is an AI-powered app maker. So maybe by a show of hands, just so I get a sense of the class, like has anyone used Bolt.new before? Bolt.new, or maybe you heard of it as Lovable or V0. Okay, one person. Okay, cool. So, Jainam already knows the magic of Bolt.new. Um, and I think it'll blow everyone's mind where we can just give these instructions. We can just say, like, hey, we can give these instructions and it'll pump out an app. And so what it does, Bolt.new, is you just describe what you want, and AI will basically put it together into a fully functioning interactive app. You don't need any coding experience, and it genuinely creates real working apps. And we're going to see in a second. And you can even deploy them to the internet for everyone to use. Okay. It is free to use, but there are some limits. So before you just jump in and start attacking Bolt.new, I just want you to know that there is a very limited usage for Bolt.new on a free account. So you can use it like maybe you can pump out like one app and like maybe two or three iterations on that app per day, right? Otherwise, you have to wait until it refreshes. So for today's session, if you want to follow along, don't use it too much just yet. But anyone that uses it loves it, and like they try to pay for it because it's awesome. But if you enjoyed this, aside from Bolt.new, some other alternatives are Lovable and another app called V0. All right, so Bolt.new is what we're going to use today. But if you're interested in this, you want to try it on different platforms, Lovable is another one, and V0 is another one. But so what we're going to do is we've just described uh, we've come up with the foundational elements that we're going to use to tell Bolt.new to use to make our dashboard. Okay. And so we're going to do this live together and let's see what results come, right? So we're going to describe our app to Bolt.new and then we're going to review what it comes out with. And then we're going to customize it and make some changes as we need. But let's hop on over to Bolt.new and let's consider it. Let's start working on it. So I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint and I'm going to share instead my Bolt.new. Mm, Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen. And you see Bolt.new and it says like what will you build today? Okay, cool. Awesome. We can see it. Love it. And so now all we have to do is in simple language just tell Bolt.new what we'll need. And so what I'm going to do is give Bolt.new our scenario. So I'm going to hop back over to the PowerPoint and I'm going to just copy and paste the situation, right? So I'm going to say, um, so Bean Scene is a coffee shop. So actually, you know what? I'm going to type it out live. So we're all doing it together. So Bean Scene is a coffee shop in Toronto considering a new location. It needs build a dashboard, an interactive dashboard to help make the decision as to whether or not we should expand. Here are the important considerations that we should be able to interact with, right? So, because you want to tell um, Bolt.new that, like, hey, these are some of the things that we want to consider. And so we did some of the brainstorming. So I'm going to just copy what we did before, right? So, oops, oh, didn't want that. So I'm just going to stop that for a second. And so you can see that it jumped over to a different screen. This is because the app builder will actually start working its magic. But I just stopped it because I want to finish typing, right? Because I want to say like these are the important considerations that we should be able to interact with. And I'll copy and paste everything we typed out, right? So all the fixed cost stuff, all the variable cost stuff, I just copied it from the slideshow and I pasted it here. And so I'll paste it here as well in the chat in case anyone wants it as well. Um, then I'll talk about the projections. So the app should be able to project or allow the user to alter projections that include um, increases in revenue, include increases in revenue, increases in new expenses, and improvements or deductions in brand recognition and reputation. Because I'm sure many of you have been to an original location of a restaurant, you go to the new one and it kind of sucks, right? We want to make sure we can kind of capture that as well. And then we want the app should be able to help us understand break even timeline, right? And so as you can see, I'm literally just telling the app like what it should be able to do, just like I tell Chat GPT, like, hey, make this essay sound more human, right? Make it sound more like me. I'm sure we've all done that to an essay. And so, we're doing the same thing with Bolt.new. Um, the dashboard should also help us consider and interact with risks such as so I'm just going to copy paste all these risks that we just talked about, right? And so you can see, I don't know if you can see that very well on my screen, but it just comes up as an image. So let me just make sure I Command Shift V, right? Consider risks such as slow start or not enough sales, competition, economic downturn, environmental risks, and changes in demand. Now, that's covered everything that we kind of talked about together. And when I hit go, the app will do some thinking and then it'll come up with a development plan. So talking to Bolt.new is like talking to a real, like a professional programmer where I can say like, hey, like this is what I want to happen. And you can see some of the thinking that the app is doing. So I'm just going to zoom in on that side chat so you can actually see how how Bolt.new is thinking about this. So you can see it's thinking about setting up the database. It'll create the user interface with these inputs. And so the app is going to take some time here, right? So the app is going to need um, a few minutes, maybe 3 to 4 minutes, to think about our case, and it'll work on the app. But in that meantime, I thought this would be a good time to go over any questions, any Q&A that we might have, right? So the app's going to work its magic. Um, but instead of us just kind of sitting here and staring at each other, um, is there any Q&A, right? So this is maybe more of an open Q&A. So you're a high school student, you're considering university. Are there university considerations that I can help you make, right? I don't think it's every day you get to talk to a professor of a university you may be interested in. So if there's any of the inside scoop that I can help you folks with, this is a great chance for that. I used to be a high school student. I know it's confusing trying to figure out what you want to do, what schools to apply to. I know OUAC is annoying. Um, so how can I help you? Do I teach courses in AFM? Yes, I do. So maybe by a show of hands, who here is considering AFM as their program? Cool, we got Mikhail. Awesome. So I do teach courses in AFM. I teach 3 or 4 different courses in AFM. And so what can I tell you about the program? It is challenging, but you end up with a degree from like one of the world's top schools. And if you know for sure you want to do accounting and finance as your profession, um, or you want accounting and finance to be a part of your careers, the AFM degree is like one of the best. I think the co-op program is really helpful. Um, and so yeah, those are kind of the things that I think about when I think about the program. Like, what is the reputation of the school? What is the reputation of the degree? And it's really high. The graduates from the degree, where do they usually go? So if you're considering like what school should I go to, go on LinkedIn, look up graduates of AFM or graduates of whatever program, and see what kind of careers they ended up in, and see if that's something you would like. Um, and I can say with confidence, if you look up AFM grads, they usually end up as like business executives or partners at some of the big firms. Um, yeah. But is there something specific, Mikhail, you're like looking to hear about? Is it like social life, or is it like what kinds of things are you more interested in? Okay, so I got a DM. So whenever I get a DM, I just won't call out the name because I assume you sent me a DM because you want it to be kept hush hush. So if it's anonymous, so if by the way, if you want to ask an anonymous question, feel free to DM me. I'll address the question. So the question was, what's the top factor that first year uni students struggle with, at least at Waterloo? So one of the things I think that students struggle with is if you're a DECA student, I'm pretty confident that your grades are pretty decent, right? Like you're used to being a pretty top performer in class. And if you're not, like that's totally cool. Um, but one of the things I think university students, when they're in first year, just they're not ready for is you have to put in a little more work. I know in high school you can probably get away with like um, maybe actually just to get a sense of the room, put up a thumbs up if you study an hour a day consistently. Right, so a couple of us. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you're doing more than 3 hours a day consistently. Right, so let's drop those thumbs. And if you're doing more than 3 hours a day consistently. Okay, cool. So here's one of the biggest changes between high school and university. In university, you have way less class. In high school, you're in class a lot, right? Like from 8 a.m. to like 3 p.m., you're in class. In university, in AFM, especially, like it doesn't happen like that. There's way less class. You'll have like 1 or 2 days off a week. So there's less class, but there's a lot more self-study. So that's one of the things students struggle with is you're just not used to consistently setting aside 3 hours every day just to study, which is something you need to do in university. Mikhail asked, is the course load rigorous? I heard Waterloo is so rigorous, it's difficult to work on your own projects outside of school. So I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of you have heard of Waterloo. If you tell your family overseas about Waterloo, they've heard of it. You don't become a world-class university by being the easiest, right? So I'm going to be very honest with you. It is hard. It's going to be challenging, but if you can get in, you can make anything work. The course load is rigorous. It's hard. It's difficult to work on your own projects for sure, but it's not impossible because I have students I talk to every day doing it all the time. And I promise you there's enough time in a day. You'll have to make trade-offs, right? So if you're used to playing like 4 hours of Fortnite every night, you might have to drop that down to 1 hour every night because some of your time is dedicated to studying projects now. But I promise you, you can do it. It's rigorous, it's hard, but I encourage you to define whenever you think about how hard something is. I encourage you to think about like, okay, like when I say it's hard, what does that actually mean? How do I overcome this? Is it like, will it break my back? I don't think it's that hard. It's probably not going to shatter my spine, but I'll have to study a few more hours a day, right? So get specific. Like when something's hard or rigorous, what will I actually have to do to overcome that? And so it's hard, but you can definitely make it work. Um, okay, I'm getting blasted with DMs now. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause answering Q&A for a bit. I'm loving these questions. I'll take them up after. Um, but I want to show off this dashboard that came up, and then I'll return to the questions. Does that make sense? Can I get a thumbs up if that plan works? Cool. Okay, awesome. So if you ask me a question, don't worry, I'll get back to that. But I just wanted to show this dashboard. Um, if you look at this, like this is really interesting. It shows us a full financial summary, shows us a risk score, and then we can mess with these numbers, right? So it gave us some baseline numbers and tells us that given its inputs, right? So given the extra revenue, the revenue growth rate, the units sold, it gives us inputs for fixed costs, and we can mess with them as well. So let's say our rent, instead of 5,000 a month, let's say it's 7,000 a month. You can see live, it updates our dashboard. Because our rent increased, our break-even timeline increased as well, right? Let's say now there's changes in demand, right? So I think Maya, you said this earlier. There's going to be some changes in demand. Let's say people don't like coffee anymore. There's now maybe it's a negative 5% reduction, right? So it's, oh, sorry, it's positive five. It's a negative five, right? There's been a 5% reduction in coffee demand. You can see our monthly profit decreased, our risk increased, right? And let's say economic downturn, let's say there's a 100% probability of economic downturn. It's greatly impacted our potential profit. And so this is really cool. Now, here's the thing. It's not perfect, right? Like you probably noticed that some of these things don't work right away. Maybe our supplies, let's change this to like, let's say it's a buck 50 instead. All right, a break-even timeline change. You can see some of the graphs don't work so beautifully anymore. This is where step two comes in. First, we describe what we want to bolt, and then we review and iterate it. Right. And so I would literally just talk to Bolt and give it changes. I would say, hey, let's get rid of maybe the environmental risks, right? I don't want to consider that anymore. And I can just literally tell Bolt and it will make updates to the application. Now, here's a key limitation is we don't know the formulas and equations that Bolt used here, right? And this is one of the pitfalls of using AI blindly. We have to consider like, okay, is the map that Bolt.new is using correct? Right? So that's one of the things that we might want to consider here. Can anyone think of any other kind of considerations before we just show this to the judges? What are some of the things that we might want to think about? Right, so you can see that some of this visualization is a little broken, probably because, it wasn't expecting 100% probability of economic downturn. Let's say there's only a 10% probability. And so we can see this, let's say instead of, monthly revenue, we get 60,000. So, our break-even timeline has decreased a little bit as well. So this is really neat. And like, this is something we can now show to judges, right? But I want to show you one way that you can take this to the next level is if I hit publish, check this out. If I hit publish, what Bolt will do is give me a URL that I can now share with anyone. And anyone will be able to interact with this application that we've just made, this dashboard. So anyone that said, I have an app idea, please check out Bolt.new. Make your app, hit publish, and then copy the link and share it with your friends because you can literally now make an app, and start getting people to interact with it. So if you click that link, you'll actually be able to open up the app. And so this is a powerful, powerful, powerful DECA tool because you show this to your judges and their minds will explode. That you made an interactive dashboard that they can then mess with and get some projections, right, is pretty cool. You can also take this one step further by turning this into a QR code. So check this out. If you just Google Adobe QR code generator, you'll get this website. And you just give a URL. Watch this. I paste this, I generate QR code, then Adobe will do its magic and put that on the screen. So if you have a smartphone, literally just pull it out, or if you have your iPad on you or something, pull out your QR code and you can scan the app and check it out. It's a mobile, oh shoot, it's like blurring my screen, unfortunately. Let's see, am I right? So hopefully everyone can scan it and see on their own screens. But we have a fully working mobile version now of the application. And in your DECA presentation, you pull up this QR code on your final slide and allow the judges and allow the audience, hey, scan our app and interact with it. I can guarantee that if your presentation wasn't good, it will really change the direction for sure. Um, okay, so there's about 9 minutes left. I just want to talk about like how can you use this, right? So you can use this for product launch decisions, market entry analysis, pricing strategy, ROI calculators. Like there's so many use cases for this. We only spent like 3 minutes on the actual app, and we got such a cool result, right? And all you have to do is just change the prompt or change what we say to Bolt.new. Right. So that's honestly all I had for everyone today. I'm going to return to the Q&A, and I'll go as long as you folks want me to, like as long as there's questions, I'm here. But yeah, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. One thing I do want to mention is that the DECA team has just shared a Google form, right? So if you're interested in being part of the provincial BYE, fill that out and you'll get a chance to do that, right? So that you'll see it in the chat. There's a Google form. So please, if you have a second, fill that out. And while you're doing that, I'm going to return to the questions. Right. So, Abigail, considering advancements such as artificial intelligence, would you say it is beneficial to study computer science? So, that's a really good question. Here's the thing. I don't know how to predict the future. What I can say is that think about would the need for what this degree provides increase or decrease? I think the need for software in this AI world is still increasing. I think that if you're passionate and excited about computer science, it's still like not a bad idea. Um, I know the right now the market is in a lot of flux, right? So, by the way, folks, 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes until that 6 o'clock marker to do that. So Sana says, I use a different email for DECA in this workshop. So which email should I put in the BYE form? The Ontario DECA team will answer that for you. Um, so Mikhail, oh, sorry. Oh, no, not Mikhail. Sorry, Janam. For chapter, does it mean school name or something else? That's a great question. I think the Ontario DECA team will be able to answer that. But just going through some of the DMs now, one of the DMs asked, does U Waterloo offer dual degrees in business and something else? Yeah, so Waterloo has collaborations with Laurier. So there's a lot of double degree programs like Comp Sci and BBA. Those are excellent programs. If you're ready to work, you'll end up with 2 degrees, which is, I can't express to you how huge that is and the kinds of opportunities it opens up. So if you get into the program and you can survive the program, it is difficult. It's a really powerful combination. Another DM. What do you believe is the most important thing to know as a graduating high school student? If there's one thing you could have done in high school looking back now, what would you have done? Okay. The most important thing, the most powerful skill you can develop is consistency. Is that whenever you have some giant insurmountable goal, such as graduating university, getting a good job, getting into my favorite school, the the most powerful thing you can do is even if you're not smart. So here's the thing. I was never a very smart kid. I was never very charismatic. I did not have a lot of the skills that you feel your peers do, right? I, but my superpower was just, I would just do it every day. If you can develop that superpower to like, no matter how smart you are, you don't have to be smart or clever or, um, you don't have to have any sort of magical trait as long as you can just dedicate some time every day to accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish. That's the most powerful thing you can do. So if I can study a little bit every day, your grades are going to be great. If you work on your resume a little bit every day, you'll find any job that you possibly want. If you practice interviews skills every day, like you're going to accomplish whatever you want. So consistency is the most powerful skill that I would recommend you can develop. And it just doesn't exist in a lot of high school students to just without reward, grinding day in and day out, like to just be able to do it every day is super, super powerful. Next question was how important are grades in extracurricular and clubs specifically? On one hand, I hear they're very important, yet others say that grades are the most important. What's more important in your opinion? Unfortunately, I would say neither of them is more important. I would say play to your strengths. So, for example, I, like I said, when I was in high school, my grades weren't particularly good, but I was like president of the student council. I had a lot of extracurriculars. So that was my strength. So I played to that strength. My advice to you is to play to your strengths. So if you're really good at getting out there and being charismatic and social and you love talking to people, then maybe networking is your number one skill. Maybe you're good at sitting there and studying and doing exams and assignments, and so your grades are going to be the best. So my recommendation is figure out your strength and what you like and kind of focus in on that. Because to be honest, they're all equally important. Clubs, extracurriculars, networking, and your grades. But the thing is, um, you might suck at studying because to be honest, that was me. And so I play to my strengths and you end up with results you're happy with if you do that. And if you're consistent, right? That's where that consistency comes in. I wanted to get a certain job. And so I would literally sit on LinkedIn every day and just message people expressing my interest. And so I consistently worked towards that thing that I wanted. But I see that my peers who studied every day also got what they wanted. Another DM. Can you give an example of how you let your students use AI in class? My teachers don't allow it at all. Great question. So, um, the thing is, I'm a technology professor. My job, my literal job is to make you as students good at AI. So I say, if there's an assignment, use AI on it as much as you can for my assignments, right? I want you to get as much help from AI as you can. But then I want you to know, is AI right? Is chat the answer that chat's giving you, is that correct or is it not? Um, and so a lot of my assignments are actually like, hey, let's get the AI output together. In fact, on my exam, I actually give my exam to ChatGPT. Then I put that answer into the exam. I say, hey, this is our exam. Then this is ChatGPT's answer to our exam. What do you think? Is chat right or is chat wrong? And so that's actually literally one of my exams is take a look at what chat said and tell me if it's right or wrong. So those are some examples of the way I use chat. Another DM is a bachelor's degree. Okay, so is there a bachelor's degree for like math related to finance, like quantitative finance? Yeah, I think if you do any math degree or you do any data science degree or you do any engineering or you do any finance. So if you do AFM, you can do quant stuff. So if you're interested in quantitative finance, like any of those is good for you. I'm just going back to the main DMs. Yeah, so if you have any more questions for myself, uh, please feel free to email this email address, saf@uwaterloo.ca. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Like I'm always happy to my name, literally you can find me by my name, Haaris Mian. So feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I, my hope is I'll see all these names in my classes in like 3, 4 years. Are you guys mostly in grade 12, 9, 10, 11, or 12? Okay. I'm getting DMs. It seems okay. Um, cool. So, uh, honestly, that's everything I had. So, if you have any questions for me, feel free to find me on LinkedIn or email saf@uwaterloo.ca. So, thank you everyone for joining me today. I really enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, feel free to stick around. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I hope I'll see you all in my class in like 2 or 3 years.